required by law. At this time, I'll move to item number 2, invocation and pledge of allegiance, led by Mr. Holmes.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you this time, Lord, just thanking you for this day, Lord. Lord, we just pray and ask you to be with this district, Lord, as we make decisions that affects the students, the teachers, the staff, and taxpayers, Lord. Lord, we just ask you to be with the state of Texas, all school districts, is what we're going through at this time, Lord. Just watch over them and lead them, Lord. Lord, we thank you for all your blessings you bestowed on us out here at this district. We invite you to walk the halls and protect our students and our staff each and every day, Lord. These things we ask in Christ Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, we'll move to item 3, public testimony. No one signed up for public testimony. Okay. We'll move to item 4, consent agenda. If everyone's had time to look over the consent agenda, we'll need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Made by Red, seconded by Bo. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Move to item 5A, discussion only, attendance and enrollment. Mr. Watson.
You should have the enrollment sheets on your front of you there. As of the 20th of May, which is the last Wednesday of our actual school year, Higgins was at 336 actual students, Everett 243, Barker at 241, Bailey at 310, Stone 558, High School at 723, which gives a total body count of 2411. When we look at our ADA enrollment from our last board meeting to the end of school, you can look at those numbers there. Overall, we went down 2 students. Of course, the main thing on the ADA is our funding. If you'll look on the back, the total ADA through May 20th was, from the PIMS data, was 2307.5, which was 96.94% attendance rate. Again, Melissa, I budgeted for 2245, so we came in a little bit above that. Now, the state has come up with a formula, and I think Melissa, with their formula, maybe it dropped just a little bit, maybe like 2303.
With the formula, it is 2285.598.
Okay. Remember me telling you guys that they were going to come up with some kind of adjustment formula, even though we had to serve all the kids, we were not going to get full attendance. They did some kind of formula that took some kind of average from the first 4 or 6 weeks, and then our previous history of this time, and then the formula reduced our attendance to that amount. It's just, in my opinion, it's just another way for them to pull little funds back on you. But that's my opinion. Any questions on attendance?
Okay, thank you. We'll move to item B, discussion only, review of local policy.
Okay. You guys asked me to talk to other school districts and see what they did as far as, you know, if a kid got in trouble with some drugs and they got put in DAP, when they came back, some organizations would kick them out, some others would not. And so you asked me to ask other schools, and I've asked 5 different schools, and then I got on the website of a couple more and looked at their student handbook and their student code of conduct to see if they had anything in there. The ones that I talked to said they do not have a universal across the board that everybody's the same. Some of the reasons, as you said, every organization is different. I had several of them give you an example of the National Honor Society. You know, if you're a part of that organization, if you get in any kind of trouble, if you get put in ISS for coming in late to be tardage or something, then you're kicked out of that organization. It's because of the way they were set up. You know, Beta Club, if you get in trouble or your grades will drop below a certain GPA, then those students are put on probation the first time. I mean, if their grades drop or if they get an after-school detention for talking too much, then they get put on probation. So every organization is different, and the administrators that I visited with and kind of asked their opinion, they didn't think that it was a good idea. And it's because that some of the kids that are like in just athletics or some organization like that, they're thinking is, and it's kind of the way because I'm an advocate for kids. And if a kid messes up, they go to DAP for 90 days, they're not going to be involved in anything. They're not going to be able to participate in any sports or any of the organizations for those 90 days. When they come back, they've served their time. And in my opinion, I mean, we need to try to catch those kids. And sometimes it takes that coach putting his arm around that kid and try to get him in the right direction. If these kids don't have somebody that is trying to mentor them along, you just boot them out. I mean, if we're here for the kid business and we're here for, let's do what's best for the kid, in my opinion, you know, coming back, I do think that since it's an extracurricular thing, you know, what my suggestion would be is like put them on probation, try to keep that kid involved so they don't make those bad decisions. And then if they do, then you can be more harsh, you know, at that time. But as a board, as far as setting the guidelines, that is your job. I'm just giving you my opinion and my recommendation. You can either do it in the code of conduct or you can do it in the student handbook. In the student handbook, you would just state that for any extracurricular activity, whether it be athletics or an organization, then if you do get put in the AP or however we word it, then when you come back, then you're on probation, or if you think that it needs to be across the board, they don't do it for the whole year or something, that's going to be, you know, up to you guys. But when I start writing, I'm in the process of putting together the student handbook and the student code of conduct, and that would be my suggestion. I'm open for feedback, and then when I bring it to you, you can either approve it or say, we would like to amend this and do it this way or however. So, but you did ask me to check into that, and that was my findings from other school districts.
When you have big issues, though, like drugs, do the schools have a policy across the board on any issues like that?
No. And that was my whole,
Yeah.
that was my whole investigation.
Yeah.
Was
I mean,
that.
I can understand the small discrepancies, but, you know, the bigger ones,
Right.
You know.
And Sheila, I mean, and that was my whole point when I
Yeah,
asked it.
yeah.
That particular question was asked.
Yeah.
And because that's what I wanted to find out, how much most of y'all were interested
Yeah.
in finding out.
Yeah.
And that was what those individuals told me, is that, you know, where they know that the kid has made, you know, bad choices, to get them in that place, doing the long-term DAP, you know, is
Okay, gotcha.
And they're
Gotcha.
not getting to participate
Yeah.
during that time. It is a lengthy time. And so when they come back, you know, and I talked about it before, I call it the death penalty, you know. I don't think there's such thing as bad kids. I've never seen a bad kid. I've seen good kids make bad choices. And I just believe that if you punish them, but when they come back, still let them have something to look forward to, hold it to a higher standard, because now we can put them on, say, hey, you're on probation, you could lose this, this, this. I'm just an advocate for kids, and I just believe that we ought to try to keep them at school, to keep them involved. I mean, that's the whole purpose of having extracurricular activities, is to keep kids involved, to keep them from making maybe some of those things, mistakes. And kids are going to be kids. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you. When I was in school, I mean, I never got in trouble, but I did a few things. If I would have, I probably would have had trouble, you know.
I think it'd be a good idea if we did do that. You know, you serve your time, you're good, and you're on probation. I mean, they all deserve a second chance. And, I mean, throwing them out in the street, what good is that? What's that going to do? They're going to get in trouble again, or don't come back to school, or worse?
Now, let me say this. And I know some of y'all have concerns. I guarantee you there's not an administrator in the central office, there's not an administrator, there's not a teacher that works in this district that does not want drugs in our school, okay? And we're gonna do everything that we can legally do to try to prevent that from happening. But in the same sense, if you're in this business for kids, and you know that the kids are gonna make mistakes, and they need to be punished for them, don't get me wrong. I mean, if we decide that, we've decided to do the long-term DAP for 90 days, I mean, that takes all their social away from them, that takes all their extracurricular activities away from them, takes them even from attending those events. They can't even attend those events as a spectator. So, once they serve their time, in my own opinion, it's just time to say, okay, you made a bad choice, and let's move forward.
And something like that applies to all of them.
All of them.
I mean, that's just a school policy, that's a policy we have, and regardless of what they're in, they're gonna get the same, and that's really what I meant, they're gonna get the same
Yes.
treatment as far as that goes.
And that's why I
Yes,
think that if we,
yes,
they're gonna be
yes.
suspended during the
Yes.
time they're in the
Yes.
DAP, but they come back.
Yes.
They say
Yes.
you're gonna be on probation for all extracurricular activities. And then that
Right.
gives that student to make good choices, gives us, whichever organization they're part of, to try to mentor that child and help them start making good decisions. And I mean, to me, I think that's like I said, I've been in this business a long time, and I love kids, and that's why I'm in this business, to try to help them get on the right track and make good choices. So, any other questions or feedback? I'm open to it, because I'm in the process of writing these student code of conducts, and probably next month, you'll get them beforehand, and you can look over it and see if, we get ready to adopt them. If you like what's in there, you can adopt it. If not, you can have a motion to amend something at that time.
I think it's safe to say you already know how I feel about it, but
I do, Jim.
I'll address that when you bring the stuff back to me, whether or not I'll support it.
Any other questions? All right.
Okay, item 5C, discussion only, budget update.
Right, I just wanted to kind of let y'all know when I left the office today, kind of where our budget was looking at the present time. So as of right now, we're looking at, what Mr. Watson was saying is that I did get a template from Region 8. What I did is I went into the summer P submission that we submitted last summer. I pulled off all 6 semesters, and I put that all at the top, all that information. Then I took actually the first 4 or 6 weeks of our actual data for spring break, put that in, and then it did do a calculation based on prior year, based on the 6 weeks that we had, and it came out with an ADA that they say TEA will use for our funding. So it was 2285.598. So what I did for the budget, that was down from our prior year ADA about 2%. So I went off of this number here, took 2% off of it, just based on history. And the budget is, the ADA is going to be 2239.886. And this is about, I think that's probably been about 6 kids less than what we budgeted last year, is what it's going to do. Now, Fred and I had heart-wrenching and very long discussions on the tax collections, where we think we're going to be based on what the state is going to require the appraisal district to do to get where they're happy, everybody's happy. We think that our tax collections are going to come in at $12,845,775. This is up about $475,000 from our collections this year. I don't know if it's going to happen, but a couple of Fred's emails were quite interesting. But I'll leave those out in case they were to make the paper. He thinks that I think that our per capita is going to come in at $914,239. I think our foundation will be $6,630,894. The cafe will be 1,147,518. Our other local will be 699,750, and our TRS on behalf, I had left that out last time. That is a wash number. This number is in our payroll, the 1,310,670, but I will book revenue, so it just offsets itself. Where we are at the current time with our budget, we have worked, I've been working with Ms. Stewart, Mr. Watson. We think our payroll as of right now is $18,492,674, and that is 77.93% of the budget. We think our contracted services will be $1,529,084, 6.48%. We think our supplies and materials will be $1,614,791, which is 6.8%. Our miscellaneous operating expenses will be $1,905,149, which is 8.03%. So as you can see from there, there's not a lot of wiggle room, to do anything. Our debt is $135,212, and our capital outlay is still the scrubbers that Rick wanted and the tractor for the mowing, and that's $45,000. So right now, I've got a shortage in the budget of $173,064. If you look on the next page, remember last year when we had our budget workshop and I was explaining all the required expenditures that TEA requires us to pay whether we needed to or not. So that would be important to kind of bring this to your attention. That the top 4 were already in place, but the 36, 37, and 38 were new from House Bill 3 this year. But if you look at our PIC 22 Career and Tech, what we have got to spend is $978,610. What we have budgeted, less the TRS on behalf, because I cannot include that because we get it from elsewhere, we get that revenue. So I have to back that out. So in our budget right now in the Career and Tech, I've got $979,041. So I'm right at the required spending. It is all in payroll except for $14,500 is in contracted services, $31,400 is in supplies, and $8,000 is in travel. And our spend 23, what we do there, I do have a required spending, but we go way over it. But we also have what you call that maintenance of effort. So what we spent this year, we have to spend next year. That's just the way it is. So you want to stay as close to the maintenance of effort this year. You don't want to go up because then you're required next year. And so you just keep building, and then you have to match it. So, and that's exactly what we're doing here. So if you'll look, the estimated expenditures in our current, in the current year are $2,368,930. Next year's budget totals $2,632,156. So I've talked with Tanya, the sped director. I said, can we move any of these budgets into this payroll into Fund 313, the federal funds? And she says no. So I'm stuck. Our maintenance of efforts are going up. I'm going to have to do that again next year. And there's a lot of money. But as you can see, it's all in payroll. I mean, all I've got in it is $5,500 in contracted services, $51,050 in supplies, and our sped co-op fee is going up about $200,000 from this year, and it will be $1,348,993. So as you can see, I have very little. I don't have the money. It's got to be in payroll. If you look at our PIC 25, that's our ESL spending. We're required to spend $25,485. We currently have in it $36,579. It's mainly in payroll. I do have a $5,500 Region 8 co-op fee in it, and $1,530 in supplies. Our state comp ed, which is our at-risk, our PICs 24, 26, 28, 30, and 34, we're required to spend $1,049,500. We've got in there $1,077,639. mainly in payroll, which is a very good thing. I've got $54,000 in supplies and just a very little amount in travel. I'm working with Tammy right now to see if maybe we can at least maybe get an aid and put and take it out of our general op and put it in to maybe Fund 211 federal funds. On our early education, that's a new one this year. Our next year required spending is $248,371. What I have in there is $604,372. It's all this. It's mainly salaries. I've got $2,500 for our early education co-op, $6,500 for new supplies for the new 3-year-old teacher. So no wiggle room there to take anything out. For our dyslexia, which is new this year, I have required spending of $121,968. I've got in there $269,759. Again, it's mainly in payroll. I've got $7,200 in reading academies that Miss Dr. Chadwick had me put in, and $1,440 in supplies. And then last in PIC 38, which is that new college, career, and military. I don't have those numbers in the template, but this year we had $13,200 that we had to spend. So that is what I've got in next year's budget at this time. I've got $6,600 in contracted services and $6,600 in supplies. I did want to bring up that this budget does not have a Christmas bonus in it, or the incentive. It is not in here, and I'm still $173,000 short of a balanced budget at this time.
Oh,
And there are no buses in this, no lease buses, nothing like that.
when, like in special ed, it says that it's not possible, to move someone in there or whatever. Is there a reason why?
Ms. Stewart, do you remember how she worded that?
Yes, it had to do with the students that they were serving.
I mean, like an aide. I mean, can an aide or two, or that there's no way to?
Well, some of the aides, the inclusion aides, were the ones that we were going to try to move into the
Yeah.
other code, and they can't. The guidelines do not fit that fund.
So anyway, what I would like to do is for us to schedule tonight for June 22nd, our meeting to discuss the budget. And I will have to have a public notice put into the paper. So I guess that would be June 22nd. It's a Monday, and I guess 6 p.m. So I would need to get your approval on that. And I'll go ahead and get the notice to the paper. And do you have any questions on any of the other information?
Will this just be one night, or will we be able to have,
We set it for June 22nd in case we need any more revisions. We could schedule one later that
does it have to be
week.
done by July
Yes,
1?
it does. I think the public notice is just worded that we will have a public notice information on the budget. So we can have another one.
Okay, at least, okay.
That would be an evening?
Yes,
No.
6 p.m. on the 22nd. So I'll get that notice in the paper. Thank you.
5D, discussion only, maintenance update.
Good afternoon. I'll start with the high school. We're working on stripping and waxing floors, doing carpets. We got a jump start this year because of coronavirus. It did help us a little bit. The tool room has been flooded for years. Every time we have a hard rain, it floods the tool room in the exit. Mrs. Stewart let me get a contractor in here to replace some of that. Doesn't leak anymore, so we're having to redo the walls. Studs were rotten, insulation. So we're in the middle of that. But my carpenter had his appendix burst overnight last night, and he's in the hospital, one of our maintenance guys. So I don't know how long he's going to be down, but we're working on it. We're painting downspouts at the high school. Everett, we're going to coat the walkway from the main school to the gym, so the kids doesn't walk in the rain or get water on the gymnasium. We're gonna do some work in the bathrooms that we started, at Everett, and some paint, and some classrooms. At Goodman, we're gonna do some repair work on some gutters. Lots going on at the stadium, get ready for graduation, because we're having to set up differently for the coronavirus deal, keep people spread apart, that kind of thing. We had to add to the stage, so we had to build 2 more sections, so we could have y'all spread out 6 foot. Working on that. Higgins, we're working on painting some rooms that didn't get painted last year. Doing carpet and wax there. Bailey, we're going to do some painting, and we're going to see about putting carpet in the 5th grade hallway. I'm just about out of money, so it might be July 1 before we start that. We've got some tile issues, from movement, and the best option there is to go over it like we did at Higgins. If y'all remember when we did that last year. Down here, we're working on the front finally. It's dry enough to get all that plywood tore out and get the sign. It's been painted, and that was donated by Simwick. And we're waiting on FAR signs to get our letters to them. At Alternative School, we put a new entryway in. We done that in-house so that the parents don't step right in the classroom. They step in the entryway first. Same thing at Parker. They're getting a new window. Ms. Hughes is paying for that out of her budget. They started on that. I think they like 2 days finishing up. We're getting ready to take over grounds. We started that process. We're trimming a bunch of trees up. If you'll notice in the district, and the storms tore up a lot of trees. So if you see some trees that you got a stump, it's because the storm got it and we had to cut it down. We've got some water issues, not plumbing issues, drainage issues. Now that it's drying up, we're going to take care of it. Other than that, it's just a normal summer. It's things we're going to have to wait on until July because of budget money. But after July 1 gets here, we'll get started on those things. Basically it.
Have y'all looked at the Parker Trail, or is the trail, is grass growing up in it or anything like that?
Yes, ma'am. I had a crew out there for a couple of days, and we had to pull them off to get ready for graduation. Also, while you're talking about that, they did receive the grant. Mr. Bowles could probably fill you in more about the grant, security grant. And we had to put a new fence up between the old building and the sewer plant. Okay, that's been done. They were working on the walking track. We had to pull off to get that cleaned out so that we could put the new fence up.
So y'all are mowing the walking track now, cleaning it up?
Well, what we're doing is we usually just shred it and take care of it, pick up.
So y'all are taking care of it?
Yes,
I get a lot of people complaining about it's not being taken care of.
Well, we're not doing any construction work or anything.
No, I'm talking about mowing mostly.
We just shred it. We shred it twice a year while we do it.
Yeah,
I'm trying to do it more.
and it's like a nature park where you want you don't want it looking like a park. It's a nature park,
Right.
and I know that sometimes it looks like it's growing up, but if they'll shred the shrubs down and keep them from coming back, that maintains it as a nature park. And I felt like the pea gravel that makes up the trail stayed on really well. But there were some areas where the Bermuda grass was kind of taken over.
When it rains real bad down there, it gets really wet. You can't.
Yeah,
get
it
down
is
here.
like a
You
swamp.
sink a track. We
Yes.
tried, and we stuck it twice, and we backed
Yeah.
out. Now the track itself, we've got some damage because the water was it runs through there so bad and deep.
Yeah.
It's also pushed the fence over by the highway.
Yeah.
So with all the rain and the storms that we've had and the continuous rain, it's been hard to get in there. We did do some work, but it's going to have to dry quite a bit before we can do any shredding.
Did any tree damage during either of those little tornado thingies that came through there?
We did have one tree.
Okay.
And then we've had one big one out here from just
Okay.
saturation. If you'll see, when you look, you'll see this one's just fell over.
Yeah.
Out here on
Yeah.
the side. Then we've had some at the band practice field that the wind tore
Well,
up.
through that area, it came through there about 3 times, Bo. Remember, it almost hit your house?
Well, once again,
Yeah.
it's wet.
Oh, we were
okay?
lucky.
We're just now being able to get in out here to clean this up.
Yeah, it's wet.
And that walking track at Parker is
So wet, I know.
pretty
I know.
wet, so
I thought it looked good.
as soon as it dries up, we'll get it took care of.
I thought it looked good, considering.
Did you mention the annex building at Parker?
And,
What all we're doing to it?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. They're having a 3-year-old, what do you call it? Pre-K class. So we're having to redo a room. We're gonna do a little painting. We're taking the carpet out, putting tile down. We just got started on that too. Also, we're redoing the Head Start building. Mr. Watson has gotten with the co-op and Mr. Stewart. They're gonna pay for a new roof on the old Head Start building. We're replacing the siding as we speak, and paint it. We're gonna do some paint on the inside for autism unit. It's coming from Bailey out to Parker, and that's all co-op. Mr. Watson has gotten that approved to the co-op because we don't have the money, but he's got all that worked out. We're getting that done. I think Jack's gonna start on the roof next week. Sorry, I've got
No,
that.
it's fine, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Item 5E, consideration and approval, Region 8 contract. Ms. Stewart.
Okay, on page 14 in your board packet, I placed the 2020-2021 service pricing for Region 8. This is a contract that comes before the board each year for approval. As you can see, there's a little bit difference in the pricing, and that has to do with attendance and teacher counts. Does anybody have any questions regarding that contract?
That's a lot of money. They did, I know last year you tried to cut
We
back.
keep dwindling each year. It
You
keeps getting a
did,
little
I
bit
know
smaller.
you did, I know you did. And what did we spend last year with them?
138,718.76.
Oh, yeah, here it is, okay. But
For this
when you
year.
look at this,
I know.
what was that really huge amount? Eduphoria, is that an online teaching, something or other?
That's our data management system for all of our data.
Okay.
Everything
Okay,
has to be
okay.
lesson plans.
I heard that that word a lot.
Mhm.
Well, I hope they serve y'all well, because we sure are paying them.
Especially in rural areas.
And then it seems like when we send
do they
people
do
over there
so
for
much in
workshops,
hours?
don't we even have to pay more?
The TEA.
What that costs us.
Well, it was part of the contract,
Yeah.
so it didn't cost us anything.
So-
I mean, it cost us what we already paid.
Well, that's good, you know,
Yeah.
that helps us out.
Well, it's cheaper to have the teachers go to Region 8 for training than to go to Austin.
And do we pay more for that when we send teachers over there?
It depends on which workshop they go to. If it's something that we're not a co-op of,
Yeah.
then it would, but this pretty much covers a lot of it.
Any other questions? We'll need a motion to approve the contract. Made by Bo, seconded by Joe. Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. 5F, consideration and approval TEA required board outcome goals.
Not exactly sure, we haven't talked about this yet. So since we haven't talked about it, I'm not exactly sure where y'all are on your knowledge of the board outcome goals. But it's required with House Bill 3 that all boards set an early childhood literacy, early childhood math, and college career military goals. Let's see, I've got a little bit of information if you need it. This is about early childhood literacy, and I'm sorry on this one, I only have like one per table, but That's just that's our data from our College for Military, in case y'all just wanted to reference it if needed. So what I've done is I've created, using the TEA template for you, a set of goals based on where we ended with our last STAR test. Third grade math, third grade literacy, and then the College for Military Readiness. Those were our College for Military. And these are some requirements for early childhood literacy. So if you'll look at that first table, it should be blue, and it should say board outcome goals, early childhood literacy, I think. Early childhood literacy, board outcome goals, right here. So your first blue table. And this page that I gave you are just some notes to keep me straight. So I thought, well, this might help y'all because we get information on this all the time. So this is these goals are based on third grade, okay? And you as a board have to establish goals that support an increase in these scores through 2024. Now, for third grade, it's going to be based on STAR scores. So since we didn't have any STAR scores last year, normally on this first, on 2020, we would have seen an increase, but since that didn't happen, that increase was waived, so I was able to just put last year's score here. So if you'll see, it says at the top, the percent of third grade students that score meets grade level or above, so meets or masters, on STAR reading will increase from 48% to 55% by June 2024. Now those numbers, the 48 is not arbitrary at all. That was our last score, last time we had a STAR score. And so I went ahead and put 48 on the 2020 right here. So your goals go across right here, and they end with 55. And that came by me sitting down with the two elementary principals that both have third grade on their campus. And based on how they feel they can move their campus, we set some criteria. So if you'll notice, from 20 to 21, from this to here, it's a 1% increase. Now we know that's low, but we also know we sent these kids home for the last spring break on, and we're going to have to do catch-up before we can start. Okay, so we just felt like we need the goals to be attainable. So we made this a 1%, then we went with a 2%, 2%, and then 2% each year through 2024, which gets us to 55%. The other thing that TEA requires is that we also establish those same goals per campus, per student demographic grouping. So if you look down here, you see your demographic grouping that we're required to also increase, and it goes from 2020 to 2024 going down. We use the same method, so what we put across here, 1% first year, 2, then 2, we use that same criteria going down with each of the student groups. So you'll see where they start with African American, Hispanic, White. Then you'll see American Indian has asterisks. That's because we don't have enough of that particular demographic. So you have to have a certain amount, a certain percentage before you can put it, or else it's kind of messes with your FERPA guidelines, because you could maybe figure out who scored what if there's so few of them. So that's by law, we have to do that. Then you see Pacific Islander again, but you can look across and see where we were. So 2020, instead of it being an increase from last year, these are our last year's results and going down. And so as I go through this with y'all, I just want y'all to know that these are your goals. We're only giving you a suggested numbers that we feel like we can get to that are attainable. And we will provide checkpoints each year on these goals as we're doing in pre-K, K, 1, and 2, because you know that's what we have to continue to do to get us to third grade to be where these are. So in the past, we really haven't been bringing data to you from pre-K through 2, because we've only been bringing data starting at 3, because that's a star. And so House Bill 3 requires us now to bring data to you beginning at pre-K. So that's kind of what this is, this sheet that I gave you. These are some diagnostic assessments that we'll be using. The diagnostic assessments that are approved by the commissioner that we can choose from. Some of the rulings on also assessing for dyslexia in the early childhood grades. And then this is first and second, seventh is on the back. And then this was just a little blurb that I needed to know. Like I said, this is my cheat sheet. I'm just sharing my cheat sheet with you. This was some stuff about dyslexia screening. We are required to screen for dyslexia at the end of kindergarten, and we weren't able to do that this year. So we will have to shift that screening to the beginning of next year. So all that to say, early childhood literacy is huge in TEA right now, and it should be. Because we've been saying, how are they doing in third grade? And that's the only thing we've been. So yes, there have been tests, but it's not really been under the microscope like it is now. So it's under the microscope, but boards now are tasked with the challenge of making these goals. But I felt like I might help you out a little bit and give you a starting guideline. If you want to change any of these, if you feel like they are too steep, not steep enough, whatever you feel, that's what we go with. These were just the suggestions that I brought to you based on the conversations I had with the principals from this campus. So Everett and Parker, which both house third grade. So that's, do you want to do these one at a time or go through all three of them? Because this is early literacy. They're very much the same. The next one's early math. So that's going to be the same thing. It goes from 56 to 63. Math as a district was higher in third grade. So we started 56 in 2020 and end up in 63 by 2024. 1% increase, 2, then 2, then 2. Kind of took the same approach. And then again, here's your breakdown by demographic subgroup, and those go down. So these two were the early literacy and early math, third grade, but your checkpoints that I am required to present to you throughout the next year, each year for the next 5 years, are pre-K, K1 and 2, to show how close we are to attaining these goals. And the last one, the third one, is college career military readiness. And this is that, to me, this is that documentation that says we don't just quit after the last end of course exam. Our goal is to make sure that our graduates have something to stand on when they graduate from high school. So your college readiness, career readiness, and military. And then I've given you last year's line-by-line results, but the actual average was 71%. It was 70.6, so for this table it's 71%. And then what we said is our goal would be to move to 83%. I did sit down with the high school principal to discuss this, the feelings on how we could move. And we discussed a 3% increase each year in college career military readiness until 2024. Again, here's the breakdown by subpopulation starting with 20 going to 2024. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer, any discussion or thoughts. So we will need you to approve these goals if you...
I move that we approve these goals as presented.
Second, made by Sheila, seconded by Bo. Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Dr. Chadwick. 5G, consideration approval. No, that was 5G. 5H, consideration approval. Move the July 13th regular board meeting. Did I skip one?
It sounds a lot alike.
Okay, we'll go back to that then.
Yeah.
5G, consideration approval board goals 2020.
So these are the actual board goals. You should have these in your packet. These goals have been in place since I've been here, so I don't know when they started, but they are yours. We just have to have them either changed or stay the same, or anything that you need, but we have to have these prepared in order for campuses in the district to create their district improvement plans and campus improvement plans based on these goals. And this must be in process in order to submit our ESSA grant, our consolidated grant for special ed, Perkins, and federal funds.
Are there any goals that you would suggest that would help strengthen us and do we need to include some of the what you just presented?
You know what? Thank you for saying that. What I just presented is mandatory to be embedded in the district and the campus improvement goals, and it's mandatory to be placed on our campus websites and our district website. So that's already happened. So what you just said, yes. And that will fit into these goals. So the goals that you have, we do break down strategies based on data and STAR tests to embed within these goals. I mean, there's nothing wrong with these goals at all. They're great goals, but they are your goals. So we must, just make sure y'all are good with them, or you feel any need to make any changes. But yes, exactly what you said. That's a mandatory part of those.
Has everyone had a chance to look over the 4 goals? In the past, we used Team of 8 training to do goal setting. That happened for a few years, and then through administrative changes, that got dropped. These goals are similar to the last ones that were done. They're not exact, but I personally don't have a problem with them. They look like good goals to me, but we also, if y'all wanted later on in the fall or whatever, we can always come back and look at it in Team of 8 to see if we wanted to adjust anything. But I mean, really, these are the board's goals. This is what you're telling these guys are your goals, so they can fit that within the education plan. So if you are happy with them, we will take a motion to approve. Made by Bo and seconded by Christie. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Item 5H, consideration of approval to move the July 13th board meeting to July 16th.
I'm going on vacation on July 4th, and we'll be back on the 10th of July, and so in order to prepare for the meeting, I would like to move that meeting to the 16th.
That's fine, but I'm not in town. I'll be at Southern Nationals that week, so Christie will have to preside over the meeting if we do it.
When did we move it to? Thursday?
Thursday. Does anyone else have a conflict with that date?
So what day?
July 16th, it's a Thursday. Mr. Holmes?
I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Okay, we'll need a motion made by Christie, seconded by Bo. Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Okay, item 6, superintendent's report.
Okay, I gave you a list of the COVID-19 related waivers. In the last board meeting, we approved a resolution for us to be able to complete all of the waivers that are coming down from the state that are related to the COVID shutdown. I wanted you to have a list of all of the waivers that we're applying for. I also attached on the back a very brief description of each waiver so that you would be able to read through and just understand what the actual waivers are for. We felt like it would be safe for us to go ahead and apply for all of these waivers because they all affect us. The only one that we're applying for that it hasn't affected us yet but could in the future is the Texas Virtual School Network. They have some course reviews and some professional development that goes along with it. We haven't used the Texas Virtual School Network at this time, but this particular waiver covers us all the way through the end of next year if we decide that we want our teachers to receive some professional development to cover that. And I hope that you'll find that helpful to have that description on the back of each waiver. Also, we've had a lot of questions coming in regarding the 2020-21 school calendar. We're not going to change it at this time. We're going to leave it the same until we receive information at the beginning of July. There are a lot of organizations that believe that the governor is going to release information the first week of July, so I hate to change the calendar now and then turn around and have to change it again in July. There's been a lot of discussion amongst superintendent groups of possibly marking off some COVID-related makeup days similar to how we would do a bad weather day in the month of June, so that our parents would know ahead of time that if we do end up shutting down, that we would make that time up in June. But I don't want to make that call just yet until we see what the governor has to say. So hopefully by the next board meeting, I'll have that information for you to be able to present, but I wanted you to know where we were in case anyone were to ask you about our calendar for next year. The countywide board training was originally scheduled for this week, and we talked about it several months ago. It was going to be at Chisholm with all the Lamar County school districts, but that has been canceled. Does anyone have any questions in relation to any of these three items?
Okay, we'll move to item 7, executive session. The board will conduct a closed meeting in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551, Subchapters D and E, Texas Government Code Section 551.074, Personnel Matters and Employment of Professional Personnel, including teachers, administrators, and other professionals. 6:52.
Yes, we're going in there. It's hot.
Would y'all like to go in that other room where it's cooler?
Is it cool?